with our very first interview on the show this morning. I'm focusing on what Mr. President had to say while addressing Nigerians yesterday at the 53rd anniversary speech, where he talked about the convocation of a national conference. With Victor and I in the studio this morning is one Nigerian who have been a strong advocate of this conference from time immemorial, Mr. Tony Nadi, who is the convener, Movement for New Nigeria, and also the Secretary General for Lower Niger Congress. Thank you, sir, for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nadi. You have severally spoken about the convocation of a conference to discuss some of the most burning issues in Nigeria today, and how the decision of the president to raise an advisory committee to set out the modalities and procedures for a national conference. How did that news get to you?
Well, with a measure of relief, I must say, though I consider it a marginal improvement from what the situation demands. You know, a marginal improvement in the sense that all this while they had insisted that sovereignty now vests with the government to decide for us on all kinds of things. And our position had been that if they go to section 14, subsection 2A of the Constitution of Federal Republic, which they are using to manage Nigeria today, they will see the basis of all the arguments that sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government, through this constitution, derives all its powers and authority. There's no other way. They know that that is the truth. Yet, Absalom Abubakar and a chain of other military presidents since 1966 took it upon themselves to usurp the sovereignty of the people and impose the constitution exclusive, to the people. That is to say, they became the sovereigns by stepping into the, almost as if stepping into the shoes of Britain that had governed us for almost 70, 80 years up to that point, to impose a constitution that starts with the preamble, we the people. That is a forgery. That's a sick.
Okay, let me get you correctly now, Mr. Nadi. So you say that
so
this is not necessarily a solution to what we have.
The discussion we are asking for is that originating discussion amongst the ethnic nationalities that the British locked in here and called Nigeria. From that time in 1914 to now, it had not been their decision to be together, and the terms of that decision, of that being together, had always been imposed.
Let's ask you this question, yes, because it's coming at a time where everyone is saying, yes, it is very timely to have a national dialogue.
Yes.
For some people, it's
yes,
not really whether it's sovereign or not. That is the issue. The issue is we have got things to talk about, and there comes a time, thank goodness, a president
yes,
is talking about it. Some would describe you as a pessimist. Isn't it too early to predict that this might not lead to the outcome we all desire as a people?
I was looking at the terms of reference. The first one must commend the statesman in Mr. President in taking this kind of a decision at this time in the midst of all the noise against it. And I was saying that it's not yet to hurry, not near where we will just come to the point where let's hope that this advisory committee, because many of the people on the list are people who have been in and out of the process we had embarked upon for over 15 years, to let Nigerians know that our situation is exactly like the situation of South Africa under apartheid constitution. What we're talking about is that all of what we're lamenting about, if you want to know what we want discussed, for which reason we are saying we have not even started, that preamble to the constitution that says we the people have decided to live here according to this constitution is saying that the Ijaw people have decided to submit their land and their people into a Nigeria. And the terms of that submission is what the constitution is supposed to be discussing. And what we're simply saying is that what happened to the closest example from where everybody can copy, so that we don't get lost in the forest, so that we don't set up a fight that can be avoided.
Okay, now when you talk about the people,
let me land so that we can get it in perspective. We're not anarchists.
Okay.
I've spent 15 years of my short life to look into all the departments of we've been going all over the place, digging into the archives. I have here the documents of Lugard, by which we were chained into this bad arrangement. We have all the documents they've been trying to hide from us, and we're going to expose it to our people. We already had some advertorials running since last week, and more will come in terms of bulletins. We're saying that we have a situation in our hand that is exactly like the apartheid constitution of South Africa, in which a minority imposed a constitution on the owners of the land, on the majority, and became the new owners of the land for 80 years. It came in 1912, and stayed all the way to 1990. And what Mandela and co, they had a parliament. Why was apartheid constitution changed by anything of the parliament? The government of Frederick de Klerk in 1990 came to the point where, having been resisted on the street enough, announced that the apartheid constitution of South Africa will have to be changed, and that a discussion that will bring a totally new constitution will have to hold.
This is what you want Nigeria to do.
This is the only thing, that's not what I want. This is the only thing that can solve the kind of problem we have.
That is,
and if they do not do that,
question.
If they do not do that, they will be leaving the ethnic nationalities with no option but to exit the union on their own terms.
Now, the question I want to ask you,
yes.
If, for instance, now,
yes.
I have reactions from Alhaji Tanko Yakasai,
yes.
Who leads the Nigerian National Summit Group, NNSG,
yes.
saying that this could be Nigeria's last chance.
Yes.
Beginning now, the Nigerians, if Nigerians fail to present and pursue common good positions, yes. beginning now, but rather delight ourselves in our often vain and bitter debates as to whether or not the National Conference should hold, we'll still have none other to blame when the transformed Nigeria, restructured through candid national dialogue, shall emerge, without our people having been best represented by the fractiously selfish political class. And that is his reaction. I also have the reaction of the Ohaneze Ndigbo. Yes. Are you saying that even the Afenifere that says President Jonathan should be commended, are you saying, don't you think it's too early for you to disregard this effort?
No, I'm
not. In as much as the president said, the advisory committee is to set modalities.
Yes.
He hasn't even mentioned the nomenclature of this dialogue.
I agree.
But he has said that, look, Nigerians would expect that people like you and others who have been in the struggle, yes. who have been asking for the national conference, yes. would at this point close ranks and see how you can, work this out. So don't you think that it's too premature to disregard whatever is being done right now?
Let us use this precious opportunity to explain to our people all over the country what the dialogue should be all about. Our quarrel, if you go to the terms of reference, item 6, as I was looking at it this morning, the item 6 on the thing says all of what there was. If you read it out, it may fit into just read it out, please.
To advise government on legal procedures and options for integrating decisions and outcomes of the National Dialogue Conference into the Constitution and laws of the nation.
That thing, what you just read now, defeats the entire essence of calling any conference, and it tallies with what David Mark was telling us the other day, that the conference will hold, but that nobody is going to discuss whether we live together or not live together. And that is the only question 75% of the country wants answered, uninhibited.
No, this 75%.
Let me tell you how I arrived at 75%.
How did you arrive at it?
Tambuwal, Speaker of your House of Representatives, said that all of the politicians...
Our House of Representatives.
As long as this is the basis of Nigeria, I tell you that more than 3/4 of the people trapped here do not want to have anything to do with that country. If you take a referendum today, that is what you will find. The only people who insist we must keep it, including some people I see on this list. You saw Mabeza and his patriot, how they are talking about Nigerianism. That is, they do not imagine that it is possible for anybody to say he will not be in Nigeria. They say nobody has a right to suggest that there will be no Nigeria. Whereas, unless we go to agree on the basis of submitting our lands into a new union, the fraud that Lugard put in place in 1914, and we have evidence of it, has come to an end. It will expire naturally 31st December 2013. That is the full 100 years. The fraud, the current fraud of 1999, in which Absalam Abubakar and his confederates in the PRC made a constitution and lied that we the people made it, renders this entire document.
Okay,
so
Mr. Nadi,
if we are sitting on a
tell us how
Nigeria
you plan to achieve what you are saying. Okay. Tell us how you plan to achieve what you are saying. Because what you are asking, hold on one minute, is that this constitution should not be. And you expect that a total overhaul. Let me finish. You want a total overhaul of this constitution, and you liken it to the South African apartheid. Okay, tell us the process to get into what you are saying, because the president also, do not forget, assumed office, or all the people you expect to do something about it, assumed office based on this document. So what is your practical step to getting this done?
South Africa in 1990 came to this bus stop where we have just arrived. The sitting government that was elected, and there was a parliament, Frederick de Klerk, he now, for the first time up to that time, accepted that the apartheid constitution could no longer be the basis of the South African society, because it was imposed by a white minority to take the lands and the rights of the blacks, and that is exactly what we have here. The Ijaw lost their land and their oil and gas to Nigeria because some military president under Gowon seized it by decree. The Lagos port belonged to Lagos people. Nigeria takes more than 2 trillion naira from this port every year, but from independence to date, not one controller general of custom of Yoruba origin. And therefore, if Gani Adams now says, how did we come to this? And he pick up arms, the discussion that should be holding is one in which the government of the day will have to accept that this apartheid constitution can no longer be the basis of Nigeria. We are not anarchists. In the suit we filed in 2007 against the constitution, we asked the court to give an order that will compel them within a period of 18 months to remain in office and work out that discussion that will lead to a new constitution. That's not too much to ask for, because South Africa did it. They accepted that the apartheid constitution had to go, and they called everybody.
Now, he's relying on them to work out a new constitution.
No, they are not saying so. In that terms of reference, they say how to incorporate whatever.
No, I'm asking you how you intend to arrive at a new constitution.
How it will arrive at is that the people, those who are trapped here, before going to make a central constitution, because a federation should have, a federation is a federation of many constitutions. Up to 1966, we had 5 constitutions, because each of the federating units were like countries of their own that were now coming to cooperate, like Germany and France and Portugal doing European Union. That was the kind of constitution Awolowo had to manage Western region. That was the kind of constitution Obara had to manage Eastern region. But some people woke up in 1966, threw all of those things away, and now locked us into this unitary arrangement. So we're saying that the first step is to ask those who will come, because tomorrow morning they will now begin to announce the names of their friends who are going to meet. We are not going to pay any attention to whatever government does. The conference is already on, and steps are being taken to take a referendum from those who are working their way out of this union, because the union has collapsed. If we do not accept in good time that it has collapsed and go to sit down to discuss how we will revive it, I tell you that under the instruments available to those who are choked here, and 3.5 million people have been killed in eastern Nigeria on this same question. OD have been wiped out, Okerenkoko have been wiped out, Obakere have been wiped out. All kinds of things are going on. Just the other day, 78 students were massacred in their sleep, because some people must be in power in Nigeria. They say they will make the country ungovernable, and they are making it ungovernable to date. And we are still thinking that there's a Nigeria. That Nigeria that will include a Sharia belt in which I cannot function in Sokoto or Kano or Maiduguri. I will not be part of that Nigeria. I will rather invest all my energy in how to take out my portion. If those who are saying they have conquered us and they are going to keep us by all means for all times insist that we cannot discuss, then we do whatever comes within our reach to do to take our portion.
Now, let me ask you, Mr. Nadi,
yes.
if at the end of the day we are having reactions from Afenifere, for instance, we are having reactions from Ohanes and Igbo, we are having reactions from Arewa Consultative Forum.
We've been with all of them.
How be it speaking, saying that they do not, they will not agree for the name sovereign to be added to whatever conference. Now, let me ask you, would you say that these groups do not represent the blocks which they say they represent?
They do not speak for the people.
And if you do not agree with their representation.
Yes.
Who are the people that you are talking to at this, at this point about
back to
ethnic
75%? Tambuwal said that all of them politicians constitute only 25%. He said it on the floor of National Assembly the day they resumed last week or so, that they constitute only 25% of the country's population. I'm here to speak on behalf of that unrepresented.
And the ROI is not speaking for anybody.
They all have vested interests. They all have things they share with people in government. What we're saying is that let us accept that Nigeria was not our making in 1914. Let us accept that the little discussion we had all the way to 1960 got toppled in 1966. Let us then accept that the product of that toppling, which is the current constitution, because from 1966 to date, all the 36 states that were created, who created them? Now they call me Abia State or Imo State or somebody else, Bayelsa State. None of the people in those places, like Delta State, cannot, the people of Delta in some areas were agitating for some autonomy. You now create a state and put the capital in Asaba. From that time to date, Delta State had not been the project of Ijo, Urobo, Ishekiri, and all of
Mr.
them.
Nadi,
saying that,
would you not rather wait? Let's just see
no,
through this process. No, because you have acknowledged that this is actually an act of statesmanship by Mr. President.
I commend him.
I commend him. At least to have you, to prove you right or wrong. Is it not a bit too early?
I was actually expecting to see your name in that list.
Of course, they know they will not put my name on any list of people who are going to be discussing, who are going to a meeting in which Nigeria is held sacrosanct, in which somebody will write in the terms of reference that the outcome of the conference will be integrated into a constitution, meaning that they want to preserve that constitution by all means. And we are saying we will not touch one alphabet from inside this constitution. So these are the two grounds, these are the two positions that will have to be married through the next few days.
But in the event that this conference is convoked,
yes,
in the event that the different nationalities meet and do discourse,
yes,
would you now throw away all of that? Because your view can be seen as extreme. It is either this, it is either all or nothing. Do you think that
there's no halfway? There's no halfway in a matter of reconstruction. If you want to put a 40-story structure on this ground now, you know it will take it. But the first thing that will happen is that bulldozer has to enter here to level it, to be able to put up a new structure. Anything that is built on this foundation of falsehood, and if you let us take it down to our people, in saying that we the people, we're saying that we have submitted by ourselves. So it's a forged signature by which Nigeria is selling 3 million barrels of crude oil every day and sharing the money, $250 million every single day in Abuja, to the exclusion of the owners. If you come to the provisions inside the Constitution, you then begin to see a chapter 2 that provides for all the good things of life, but a clause in section 6, section 6C, and shame on the lawyers in Nigeria, including the justices up to the Supreme Court, that will hold this document up and say it's a constitution. Because those who wrote it had taken all of the content of the Treasury as their own by that provision, to say that nothing is for the citizen except as they deem fit. That is the unjust.
Mr. Nadi, before we let you go on this segment, like Victor asked, and
yes,
it's the heart of the matter.
The thing to do is to allow the ethnic nationalities
and have this discussion without what you are saying, and this scales through.
If somebody,
what does that make you?
Abacha held a conference, but Obasanjo held a conference. What happened to them? Because somebody sat in Abuja, like David Mark is sitting, to tell us that it is how they do it that we have to accept. What we're saying is that they must accept that sovereignty belongs to the people and let them organize themselves and send those who they will truly wish to discuss their future for them in a conference that will end in a referendum.
Thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
We have been speaking to Mr. Tony Nadi, who is the Secretary General of the Lower Niger Congress and the convener Movement for New Nigeria. Thank you once again for joining us.
My pleasure.
We'll be right back. The rest of the show continues shortly. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Now our next interview is one